we heard from our families and stakeholders, teachers, everybody. And one thing that we continue to hear, families, community partners, they want to be engaged with the school system, but they don't always know how to do so.
Yes. Hey there, this is Matthew Jennings, and on this episode of Peachjar Extra Credit, we are talking community engagement. I am lucky enough to be here in Cumberland County Schools with Associate Superintendent Dr. Whitley, who heads up the communications and community engagement efforts here in Cumberland County Schools. He's going to impart some knowledge for all of us that you'll be able to take and utilize in your schools, in your districts. Community engagement is a critical cornerstone to any strategic communications plan. Dr. Whitley, thank you so much for joining me this morning to talk about this.
Good morning. I'm very excited to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So before we jump in the deep end here on community engagement, tell me a little bit about yourself in Cumberland County Schools.
All right. I'm Lindsay Whitley once again. I am fortunate to have been in school communications for 16 years now. I've been here in the district for almost 5 years, and I love the work that we do. Never a dull moment, and we're changing lives. And so here in Cumberland, we have around 50,000 students and 6,000 employees. Wow. 86 schools, and we're a military town. And so we have a lot of opportunities to engage with our very diverse stakeholder groups.
Well, that's fantastic. 86 schools, over 50,000 students. Community engagement couldn't be more important in a district that size. So talk to me about some of the ways Cumberland County Schools has increased internal and external communications.
Well, here in Cumberland County Schools, we have a strategic plan, the Cumberland Commitment, and a large part of that strategic plan, one priority is committed community. And it's all about how do we engage with families and community partners to help our young people succeed. We understand that to get our students across the stage to be successful in life and graduate and thrive, we cannot do that work alone. And so it requires all of us working together. And so we're very excited about the work that we're doing, but it is aligned with that strategic plan.
Committed community, is that right?
Yes.
I love that. That's concise, to the point, means exactly what it is. So let's talk about strategic planning just a little bit. By the way, future Peachjar Extra Credit episode will be brought to you on strategic planning and communications planning. So stay tuned for that. But since you mentioned it, and I can't stress enough how critical it is to have community engagement as part of your strategic plan. Let's talk about strategic planning for just a moment. How important do you think it is to have a strategic plan, and do you use it? Or is it just a book that gets put together and sits on the shelf and collects dust?
We use it every day.
Okay.
It's a living document, and I want to just start from the very beginning, how we arrived at our plan. It was a very collaborative process. And so we conducted a listening tour. We heard from our families and stakeholders, teachers, everybody. And one thing that we continue to hear, families, community partners, they want to be engaged with the school system, but they don't always know how to do so.
Yes.
And so after listening to them, we were able to develop a strategic plan specifically around the committed community and talking about how can we build structures to help families and communities be engaged with our school system. And so when we think about our budgets, when we think about how we're utilizing our resources, we always align it with the goals and the strategies in our strategic plan.
As should be. That's excellent. Well, I know as one of the components of your strategic plan around community engagement, you have what you call the Cumberland Family Academy, which I think is really awesome. I've gotten to dig into that quite a bit. You and I have talked about it a little bit. Share with us, please, what that means, that Cumberland Family Academy. What is that? Why is it important? What's its purpose?
We're very excited about the Cumberland Family Academy. It is the district's family engagement outreach arm. Okay. And it was based on the need that parents conveyed to us about how they wanted to plug in and be engaged, but they wanted resources and tools to help them do so. And so we launched Family Academy during the pandemic. And so in the middle of the pandemic, we went to virtual learning. Parents had questions about the learning management system, how to check their kids' grades. And so we were able to launch a virtual Cumberland Family Academy at that time. And so we were able to provide, live information sessions on things such as checking the Power School Parent Portal, how to check your child's grades, social emotional well-being, homework help during a pandemic. And so it was very helpful to our families. And then fast forward to now we've decided to offer some sessions in person as well for families. But how do we get those topics? How do we decide what to offer to our families?
That was my question.
Yes. Well, our mantra is nothing about me without me. And what we mean by that is when we think from a parent's perspective, we don't want to just do stuff to parents and say, this is what they need. Here's information. But we want it to be helpful and be what they need at the right time. And so we do quite a bit of data collection. We do surveys, focus groups, and that is how we decide about the offerings and making sure that everything that we offer to our families is timely and is helpful.
That's awesome. So let's dive into the data just a little bit. There is a Peachjar Extra Credit episode with Leslie Brewington. She and I just talk about communication systems, all the tools that we have access to at the district level, and when do you use them? How do you leverage them? And Leslie Brewington, if you don't know her, she's amazing. She past INSPR president. She's a former PIO. She's just a guru in the space of communications. She stressed so much during that video. Data, data, data. Use data to inform your decisions. Use data to guide you through the process. Talk to me about some of the data you're collecting and how Cumberland County Schools reacts to the information that they receive through data.
Thank you. Data is a huge part of what we do because we want to utilize our resources wisely, and we want to make sure the resources we're providing are very helpful. So after every session, we offer an evaluation. We also, for the virtual sessions, we collect data on the analytics, how many views that we have. We also have an annual public opinion poll on our family and community engagement efforts. We have them rate the quality of our workshop offerings, our sessions, our family engagement and community engagement activities. And so we review that data on a monthly basis, and we don't wait to use it. For example, if we learn that a certain location we're hosting an event at is not working for families, then we immediately try to implement something to change that. If we need to add more childcare, or if there's an issue with the sound or the quality, we immediately try to change that. What we have found is if we provide high quality opportunities to our families, if you build it and it's quality, they will come out and they will take advantage of it.
That's so great. So using data to inform your decisions, sounds like you're using data to inform topics, and even down to the granular level of locations where you're offering those services. I just want to make one really critical note for those of you that are watching that are at the higher levels of district leadership. Maybe you're on executive cabinet. Don't survey, don't grab data unless you're prepared to react to it and act on it, right? Because you can burn that out, and families get really savvy around, well, my district's always asking my opinion, but they never change, right? And so it sounds like Cumberland County Schools is being really flexible and extremely in tune with the information that they're getting. Because sometimes you put surveys out there and you find out, well, that didn't work. We need to change some things, right? And so you have to be prepared to act on that information as you get it back. So really great that you're at that level of even, well, that location didn't work out. Let's figure out how we can do this better. Anything come back that's ever surprised you, or is it just more kind of solidifying, maybe things you already had thought families and community needed?
That's a great question. Something that I think about is, coming out of the pandemic, we thought that everyone was tired of the virtual sessions.
Yes.
And so we were planning on
Zoom fatigue.
Yeah, Zoom fatigue. We were going to stop the virtual sessions and go into in-person only. And so after we conducted some focus groups and did some surveys, families said, we want both.
Yeah.
We want flexibility. We found that families, as they were waiting for their kids to come out of sports practices and athletic events, sometimes they were listening to our events from their cars.
That's great.
And they said, if I had to be across town at the same time I had to be at a baseball game, I wouldn't wouldn't be able to make your sessions. And so what we have found is by listening to families, we can do both. So now we're offering in-person sessions that we're now recording and archiving and posting on our website so that more families can utilize it. But in addition to that, other things such as a resounding request from families was just something as simple as we need support with what they're calling new math. Okay, when our children come home with homework, they're completing it differently than we did when we grew up. And so how can we support this work? And so that's a session that now we're able to offer to families. So really, the data helps us to immediately hear what's going on, what's working, what things we need to continue. But most importantly, it helps us understand things we may want to tweak or change.
Makes your entire strategic plan more successful and effective.
Yes.
So that's wonderful. And that's critical. I have found that in districts that I've worked with as well. I thought Zoom fatigue would be a thing. I mean, we were all talking about it, but I kind of almost think Zoom fatigue is a little bit more for those of us that have to sit in meetings, right?
I agree.
Than it is for for our community out there. Because parents, it's so hard for districts. I know I've heard parents say why can't you just do it in the morning? Or why can't you do it in the evening? But then you hear from the next parent, well, I can't go to the evenings. Why can't you do it in the morning or during the day? And so there isn't a one size that fits all. And so it's really hard for districts to find that special niche of, if I host it at this school site at this exact hour, everybody can come, because that doesn't exist. And so being able to offer these resources in so many different ways really keeps the engagement high, which is awesome. And then leaning into how are people, are they attending the virtual? Are they attending the in-person? So really great use of data. Again, so critical. Speaking of the various ways that you are able to connect with the community, talk to me a little bit about you have a really great website dedicated to community engagement. We'll link it in the description so you can check that out, see what Cumberland County Schools is doing there. Really great website. I got lost in the rabbit hole of the website for 30 or 40 minutes yesterday. So talk to me about that resource. What is its purpose? What have you seen come back as a result of having that out there accessible to the community?
We wanted to make it easy for families and community partners to plug in. And so we created a website dedicated to family and community engagement. And so on that site, we've linked all of our resources, all of our educational offerings. So for example, we have a schedule of in-person sessions that are coming up. We also have what we call on-demand sessions. So we have like a master class for today's families, and that's a series that we've recorded, and we brought in experts from around the country to come and speak on important topics. And parents, they can watch those at any time of the day or night on demand. We also have just information about how to volunteer, how to plug in. Right. And so it's a one-stop shop that we've made very user-friendly, and we've advertised it to our families. And so how do we know that it's working? Yeah. We're watching the metrics. We're seeing how many hits we're getting on the website. We're looking at the views. We're tracking attendance. So it's very common for us to have 200 to 300 people for our in-person attendance at our workshops, which we were very pleased with coming out of a pandemic. And so our views are doing well. And so if there is a certain sessions that's not doing as well, we try to figure out what's going on, if it's not the right session or if we didn't host it at the right time. But once again, that site is really all about providing a one-stop shop for our families to plug in and get the information that they need to support their children.
That's clear. And sometimes it's hard to drive traffic to your website. Can you tell me, are there any tactics or strategies you can share that you're doing to promote that page as a resource for families in the community? How are you getting the word out?
Yes. So here in Cumberland, we use the traditional means of communication, such as we have our press release. We do a weekly parent link call. That's our automated calling system. Now, we used to call families 2 and 3 times per week for different events. They was like, that's too much. Too much. Overload. So now we do it once a week, and we have a call on Sunday evenings at 5:50 p.m. And so they know that they're going to get a call and get an update. But what we do is with that call, it's a voice message message, a text message, an email, and it's posted on social media and the website. And so parents know that if I'm busy, if I miss it, I can always go and get the pertinent information. And so when we're hosting a Cumberland Family Academy event, that's a part of that communication. And so we try to help parents know. So in addition to those traditional kind of ways of advertising, we do, billboards, digital ads, we boost posts on Facebook. So it's really like a very multifaceted communications protocol that we're using. Something I'm very, very excited about is it's a new program under the Cumberland Family Academy umbrella. It's called our Family Ambassador Program.
I want to talk about that.
And so I'm just extremely excited about the work we're doing with that.
So let's talk about Family Ambassadors then. So what is that program about? Why did you start? What's the mission and the purpose of the Family Ambassador Program?
So our Family Ambassadors, they are parent volunteers.
Okay.
So they're not district employees, but we really wanted some individuals really on the grassroots side who were not employees, who were not employed by the district. We just wanted regular parents who we could reach out to. And so we work with school principals to identify them. But some amazing things have happened because each month we meet with those parent leaders.
Wonderful.
We have 2 offerings in the morning and in the evening, and they're able to meet with district administrators. We provide them information on a variety of topics, but then they can use that information to help their young people. But the goal is for them to help take that information to other parents.
Yes.
So it's really like a peer-to-peer outreach model where we're saying this is information that our families need. We're talking to other parents and saying, how can you help us get this information? So it's like a key communicator network. Yeah. We started it this year and we've had amazing results. And the reason why I say that is because you can send a press release, you can send a newsletter, but there's something about a peer-to-peer outreach model, a parent reaching another parent, getting that information to them. It's powerful. So we really consider our Family Ambassadors an extension of our communications office.
That's you literally are building an army out there, just spreading more messaging and information in the community, which is wonderful, and in a more organic way. So you talked a little bit about some of the avenues that you use. So things like your website, social media. Do you do billboards as well?
We do.
Do you find that effective?
We do.
Why did you mention that?
Every time we post a billboard, we always get an email or a Facebook post. We use our own kids. We don't use stock photos. And so people are captivated when they see our billboards across the county. And so that's an effective way. Like right now, we're working on kindergarten registration.
Yes.
When we're working on enrollment, when we're talking about our choice programs, that's an excellent way to be able to get the word out.
That's awesome. And you wrap city buses as well.
We're actually working on a plan to start that next school year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned because Sheena Cooper with Durham Public Schools and I are also going to be talking about some of those techniques. So I wanted to hear what your experience has been with things like billboards and wrapping buses, which is great. And you are a new Peachjar district. I don't think you've launched Peachjar officially yet, right?
We haven't. I think we'll launch officially in June.
Okay. So that's another great way to get your word out, right?
Yeah. We're excited. And something I just wanted to add is when you really think about marketing 101, it's really about redundancy and repetition.
Yes.
And so we utilize that because if we're trying to get a message out about family engagement or about the school system in general, we're using the press release, we're using the website, we're using our social media, but it's on the billboard. They're seeing digital ads. Yeah. We're partnering with the local paper. We even have a Chamber of Commerce here where we can get e-blasts that are sent out. And so we've seen really success in trying to focus in on our message and sending it out through multiple channels. And that is how we're getting some of our success.
Well, that's wonderful. You just shared a lot of strategies there. Maybe we pick out a couple, but launching in June, Peachjar, which is really great because you could definitely put together a really easy flyer on the family community engagement and the academy, the ambassadors programs, all of that stuff can flow out through Peachjar as well. And then they're interactive, so they can register and sign up right there on the flyer, which is cool. I really love that you had talked about some of the different ways that you lean on the community resources, like the Chamber of Commerce in all of my previous districts. That was one of the first calls I made when I joined the district as the new guy. I connected with the chamber. Hey, what's going on? Can we meet? Can we sit down? I'd love to take you out for coffee. They're a critical resource. So if you have a Chamber of Commerce and you're not leaning into that resource, definitely do that, because I find, and I want to ask how your experience has been here, but I find that they're always like needing more information. Like they need stuff. They need stuff for the newsletter. They want stuff to go out. They want to be relevant and prominent in the community as well. And having the support of the local school district helps them meet that goal. So I always found an extremely receptive ear. When I would call, I almost never got sent to a voicemail. I was like, nope, let me go find the president really quick. And they were really eager to help me get the word out to the community. Do you find that same experience to be yours?
I do. We have a great relationship with our chamber. Really anything we call and ask them, they'll do it.
Agreed.
We were doing Employee Appreciation Month, and we reached out. We wanted to do a blast to local businesses to see if they would support our employees. We need to get the word out about some upcoming events about choice. Anything we ask, they're more than happy. And I'll say that about the community at large. Mm-hmm. Even post-pandemic, we found the importance of really leaning on our community partners. There are so many individuals that want to help, that want to plug in. And so just in a previous year, we hosted what we called a gathering of the village.
Okay.
And basically, it was just our way of coming as a school system to say, hey, we need your support as a community. And so we invited faith partners, we invited business owners, we invited retirees, and we basically had an opportunity to talk about, we're Cumberland County Schools, here are some of our needs, here are some of our challenges. And at the end of the event, it was a call to action, and there was a pledge card, and we were like, how do you want to plug in? Awesome. And the amazing thing was the response. There were so many people that were willing to say, I can be a reading buddy, I'll be a mentor, I can adopt a school, but that never would have happened if we didn't ask.
If you hadn't asked.
So I think that that's just important. Just get out there and ask. There's so many people that want to support our schools.
It's so true. I have a similar-ish story kind of in line with that, but I needed something printed in one of my previous districts, and I needed it really just high quality. It was going to be a mailer that was going out to like 30,000 homes across the entire city, and our print shop wasn't sure that they could just meet the level of need. And so I called the chamber and I said, hey, what do you got in the city? What partners are you working with? I need local print shops. I want to keep this local in the community. They gave me a print shop, really great experience. Not only did I work directly with the owner, but in that conversation, he's like, hey man, I've always wanted to work with the school district. Let me do this. I'll give you a really, really great deal. Give me a really great deal, and made these absolutely gorgeous mailers that really made an impact. And I would say also helped us get a bond measure pushed through.
Wow.
It went out right before that, and it just highlighted all the work that bond dollars made in our community and helped us get a bond passed. And so leaning into those community resources, just critical. Just wanted to back that up as well. That's so true. Talking about leaning into the community again, I know this Thursday you have Cumberland County Schools has an in-person event. Maybe you're recording it too, but on school safety, right? Yes. I'd like to talk about that a little bit. I'm also the co-host of the School PR podcast with Ryan Ferran in Arcadia Unified School District, so definitely check the School PR podcast out. We did a podcast with Rick Kaufman last week or the week before, and he really brought up a strategy that I don't know how much it's being leveraged, but you're doing it here in Cumberland County on Thursday, and that is actually meeting with families in person to talk about school safety. It's timely, it's relevant, it's on the top forefront of parent and guardians' minds right now. What is my district doing? Is my school safe? Are my students safe? Are my children safe? And I don't know if enough of us are doing those events in person. A lot of times we push it out through the newsletters or the press releases or the website, and we think that might be enough. But it's really impactful to have your superintendent, your board of education, other district leaders, school site leaders out there in the community having discussions with parents, guardians, and families about school safety. So can you tell me a little bit about the event you're having on Thursday.
Yes, tomorrow night at 6:00. It's called School Safety. Let's talk about it. And it's under our Cumberland Family Academy. It's our Community Conversations series. And so it's all about hearing from families about a topic of interest. Okay. And we know, similar to school districts across the nation, here in Cumberland, we are aware that there is an uptick in violent behaviors across the country. Just things such as threats or other things. And so we're aware that all of us are dealing with that. And so instead of trying to tackle that issue by ourselves, we've decided to reach out to our communities. And so we're inviting parents, high school students, school resource officers, board members. And so we're going to begin the conversation over a meal, because that always puts everyone in a good mood. And so then after the meal, we're going to share briefly, because we don't want to do a whole bunch of talking tomorrow night. We want to hear from our stakeholders. We're going to share briefly some of the safety protocols we currently have in place, but then the remaining portion of the session will be divided into 3 conversations where we're asking 3 very important questions about school safety to solicit their feedback.
So more of a roundtable discussion.
Yes. Wow. And so we have table facilitators.
Great.
And at each table, there might be a board member, a parent, a student leader, and they're all strategizing, saying, hey, what can we do differently? What additional protocols do we need? And so we'll report out. We'll be able to gather all of that information based on the feedback received. And most importantly, then as a district leadership team, we will take that information and decide how can we improve the safety protocols here in the district. So we're very excited about hearing from our stakeholders about such an important topic.
That's so wonderful. It's really hard to do something like that and record it. Are you also recording that event?
We are not recording that event only because there will not be a whole lot of whole group activities. It'll be like those little round table discussions.
It'd be really hard to make that also a virtual event. And also no way for somebody to participate really virtually. So that's great. If there's any follow up that we can link back to, if you can share any information there, I'll certainly put that in the description. So if you want to learn more about that, you'll be able to do that. Dr. Whitley, if someone wants to learn a little bit more about that experience and maybe host one in their own school or district, is it okay if they reach out to you and talk
Yes,
about that?
Please reach out. I would love to collaborate with you. We're learning at the same time, but I'll be happy to share what we're doing here. We're very excited. So far, we've had an overwhelming amount of support. Families are excited. I think we have around close to 300 people who have pre-registered for tomorrow night. So it's going to be a large crowd, but we're very excited.
That's so great. 300. That's good. You're going to get some really good data.
Yes, and we will use it.
Yes. Well, I can't thank you enough for joining me today. This has been a ton of fun, a lot of really great information. So lean into some of these strategies, these resources. Again, you're doing a really great job here in Cumberland County Schools. I love the work, and I love how visible it is through social media and your websites. So anybody can access that, which is wonderful. Again, we'll have those links in the description so that you can check that out yourself as well, do a deeper dive on that. Thank you again so much for doing this.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say I appreciate this opportunity to talk about the work here in Cumberland. But there's a huge team of supporters. And what I mean by that, we have our communications team, we have a supportive superintendent and cabinet, and then we have all of our community stakeholders. And so it's not a one-man show, but it's about collaboration. It's about working together, and it's about keeping our young people at the center of everything we do. And that's why I think we're seeing the successes we're seeing.
That's wonderful. Well, that's all we've got for you right now. If you like this content, please be sure to like, comment, and share. Follow for more. Stay in tune. We will be bringing you a lot more videos like this on Peachjar Extra Credit. And don't be afraid to jump into those comments and participate. If you've got a question or something like that, Dr. Whitley and I'll jump in there and talk back and forth with you as well.
Definitely.
Feel free to reach out to Dr. Whitley if you have any further questions about some of the topics we talked about today. Pick his brain a little bit if you're interested in hosting some of these things or making some changes in your own school or district. Stick around. We got a lot more planned. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.